And then Rick Mathieson is here today, so it's good to see him here today. So this next guy doesn't need any introduction, I don't think, but Steve Johnson, former Iowa State Extension, now working with Rain and Hail a little bit, so we're lucky to have him here today. And main focus is going to be market protection questions, but I'm sure he'd be willing to answer any other questions. So I'll let you take the reins.
Great, Twing. I appreciate that. Greetings. I'm Steve Johnson, formerly of Iowa State, and now I'm a free agent. I retired a year and a half ago, and Chris and I have worked together 5-6 years, something like that. So I am staying where my strength is, crop insurance, crop marketing, and government farm programs. Again, I'd like to offer my condolences to the Hawkeye fans and the loss of your offense. Okay, I've got some good news. This just hit the wires. It sounds like Brian Ferentz is being traded to Nebraska, and Scott Frost is going to come to Iowa. But Iowa's got to pick up Scott's $15 million contract. So, yeah, just one question. Who would you rather have quarterback, Hunter Deckers or Spencer? Take your time. Take your time on that. So good. Good to be back. Good to be a Cyclone State. You've got my handout. I'm coming right at it. Margin protection. Been around for 7 years. Developed at Iowa State University. It was a pilot in 16. Became a product in 17. And I do believe there's some uniqueness about margin protection. So with that, I'm just going to go right to what I think is the most important information about it, okay? Number one, it uses county yields. It's an add-on. You're adding it on to revenue protection. It's never a standalone. This isn't GRIP. And so it's basically an add-on decision that you're making. It uses a projected price and select costs that are being discovered right now. I believe tomorrow or Thursday is the last day of discovery. There's a 21-day discovery of projected price as well as the select variable cost. And those costs are interest, diesel, DAP, urea. And then for soybeans, you drop that off. Oh, and potash, sorry about that. So there's 5 select costs. And what you're doing by buying margin protection, you're buying it. What were those costs in that discovery period? Middle of August to the middle of September. And then what are those costs in April? So if you're betting that costs are going to go up, and by the way, Consumer Price Index came out, very disappointing, 8.3%. It's just a touch lower than the last 2 months, and so you know how they're going to spin this. Oh, the inflation rate's coming down. It's still at 40-year highs. And so a lot of uncertainty that's out there. So I really believe the advantage is this idea that now you've got a tool that focuses on margin. It's not just yield, not just price. That's what you've got, revenue protection. You've got something that also focuses on costs. So there's formula. It's fairly simple. All right. You've got 3 agents here. They can explain these to you. It is an area-based plan. So it's using county yields. It's not using your farm's yields. You're going to buy revenue protection. But when will you make that revenue protection decision? By what date? March 15th. So you're making this decision by September 30th. For the 23 crop. It's heavily subsidized. Heavily subsidized. The government's paying about 50% of your premium. And so when you look at some of the advantages, I think that's one. I actually call it a shallow loss. Okay, shallow. What do you mean? It's easier to trigger because you can buy it up to 95% level of coverage and 120% of price. So I really think that these are unique. You can't buy revenue protection to 95%. You can. It's a proprietary product that the crop insurance companies, but that isn't subsidized when you buy it above 85%. And there's a protection factor. So the Cadillac, all right, is 95-120. Just going to go right to it. You don't have to buy the Cadillac. Didn't see any Cadillacs in the parking lot. A lot of pickup trucks, but no Cadillacs. And if you buy MP and then you'll later buy revenue protection, that's what 99% of you will probably do, you get a credit applied to the premium. And so there'll be a lower adjustment that comes with that because the two are really built. As margin protection, MP is built right on top of your revenue protection product, but RP uses your farm's yields, MP uses the county yields. And this is frequently asked questions. Can I double dip? No. If there is a loss in 23 crop, it is the higher of the MP or the RP. You don't get them both. So again, MP probably easier to trigger because you can buy it up to 95% as opposed to the revenue protection product that you buy. Okay? So again, the calculations, fairly simple. All right? It's the harvest price and costs are still needed. This is the most complex crop insurance product I've taught, okay? It's kind of like teaching the Farm Bill. Remember that? 02, 08, 14, 18? It's like a foreign language, and then you go, whoa. That's not that big of a deal. If you trigger an MP loss, you won't be paid until June of 24. You okay? Your lender okay? Well, I'm going to trigger a loss. When? After they release the final county yields. So I just come right at this. What are the advantages? Why the heck would I buy this? This is a terrible time of year. I'm thinking about 22 crop. All right? And I'm still in mourning from the Iowa Hawkeye offense. What are the advantages? You know, I think one of the big advantages is what happens if between now and February that projected price drops, because we're discovering margin protection at a whole different time frame, mid-August to mid-September. So it's protecting against a drop in futures price. It's using the same months, December 23 corn, November 23 soybeans. It's not using your farm's yields, it's using your county yields. And so right now, a part of the process is what we call the expected 23 crop yields. Your crop insurance agent has that. And you're going to see, I'm going to use an example, a real example. I'm in Buchanan County. Am I close? All right, I'm going to use a Buchanan County example today to feature this. But also, if there's an increase in variable costs, and if you'd have bought this a year ago, and you were in a county that probably isn't going to grow trend yields, I know I'm in the garden spot of the Corn Belt. This is the best looking corn I've seen all summer. Then if you bought this for the 22 crop and your county yields are below trend, you're probably going to trigger a loss, especially if you bought the Cadillac. And you said, why? Because costs went up 27%, these select variable costs for the 22 crop. What else? Subsidized. All right, it's heavily subsidized. Again, it depends on what level of coverage. So just like RP, when you move to the higher levels of coverage, the government provides less support. That's nothing new. That's just exactly how RP has worked for 22 years. And so it looks very similar to that revenue protection policy. And then it provides this earlier price discovery period. And rather than wait till February, I mean, what if the world goes to hell between now and February? Projected prices aren't going to be 609. That's what they are as of yesterday. And so it's kind of a hedge against lower potential projected prices. And yes, it uses select variable costs. And then lastly, and again, I'm not supposed to say this, but I'm not with the university, so I'm a free agent. I do believe it gives you a little more comfort to pre-harvest market. You can get started earlier. You don't have to wait till March, and you know the projected price for RP. And so if you're buying inputs, my recommendation on the podcast I did a few weeks ago, you ought to be selling something. That's called managing margins. Rather than pick the highest price and sell and buy at the lowest cost, good luck, God bless, I'll pray for you on that strategy. That rarely works. You say, well, there must be some disadvantages. Yeah, September 30th is a disadvantage. Just about the time you're ready to start harvest, you've got to make a decision. So I'd suggest today, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, you're already kicking the tires, thinking, yeah, is this a product that I ought to be taking a look at? What are the premiums? We'll know that in a couple days. And should I buy it up to 95? Should I buy it at 120% of price? There is an additional MP premium, so it's not free. Okay, so it's a lot better than ARC PLC. I'll guarantee you that. But you don't have to pay for that ARC PLC decision. What are the other disadvantages? How's it work? Why would you have to bring an old retired guy in to explain it? There's a good one. All right, because we developed it. And there's not a lot of people out here training on it. So I train the crop insurance industry. That's my new niche. And it's not just rain and hail. I'll be doing Farmers Mutual Hail conference here in a couple months. So I'm training the crop insurance industry as well as how does this product work, not knowing the final MP indemnity. You are not going to know what MP indemnity is until June 16th of 24. You okay? You go, why? County yields, final county yields. Because, again, crop insurance is now using RMA data, not FSA data. FSA yield data is kicked to the sidelines when it comes to crop insurance. This is all RMA. All right, so they're not using the survey techniques that you saw in yesterday's report. And the individual farm's revenues and input costs are not considered. These are county yields and some arbitrary national cost. And the costs do vary slightly between counties. So if you get a quote for Blackhawk County and Buchanan County, there could be a slight difference if there's an expected county yield difference. That's primarily it. And there is a difference between irrigated and non-irrigated acres. Again, if you purchase MP by September 30th, you cannot purchase SCO or ECO. You with me with those acronyms? All right, that's that add-on that you might have been buying the last couple years. You do that by March 15th. That's a county-based product, but it uses that same projected price discovery period, February, for SCO. Remember, if you buy SCO, you can't enroll in ARC County. If you buy margin protection, you can enroll all your acres in ARC County. All right, you can enroll all your acres in ARC County. And the only reason I'd ever enroll in PLC is because I bought the SCO product. So I hope I'm bringing back some bad memories from the last couple winters when you back these decisions into March 15th. I brought an example, and this is how I kind of teach this. All right. And I teach in kind of a real challenging fashion. You've had 7 years to figure this product out. All right. And now you're down to just a couple weeks to make a decision. So I came up with a sample farm. All right. I hope it's kind of close to your farm. It's pretty damn good approved APH, 220. All right. And so roughly a 10-year simple average. It is trend adjusted. So it's actually not your APH, it's your trend adjusted APH. All right, the Buchanan County trend yield for 23 is 205.8. And so most of these counties in this part of the state are all over 200. Most of central and northern Iowa, they're all over 200. You go, where did they get that? It's the 30-year trend yield for that county. It's the 30-year trend yield. So it's roughly, let's see if I can do my math, 92 to 21. So the the expected county yield varies. Here's my assumptions today. Here we go. All right, I'm going to pretend that I know. I'm going to pretend that if you wait till February, the projected price for December 23 corn is going to be $6.15. I don't know that. Usually February is pretty good discovery period. I'm going to assume that the world, all right, doesn't get blown up between now and then. all right, and that we probably have a lot of uncertainty. Wouldn't be a good winter to spend in Europe. How's that? Unless you got a lot of wood to burn. So again, this idea that there's a lot of geopolitical things that are out here, and these costs, there's nothing that says that costs can't go up. Okay? The margin projected price as of a week ago, Friday, I had to put these together early, was 605. As of yesterday, it was 609. 605, 609, close enough for government work, right? Federal government work. Okay, so pretty close. All right. Volatility factors have to be assumed. We don't know that. Remember, that goes into the premium. So again, for the RP, it's going to be 0.21, which is, fairly high, but it has been the last couple years. And for MP, it's 0.28. So those volatility factors are also playing out with the premium. Here's the assumptions. The fixed cost for corn in Buchanan County is 206.9, won't change, be almost the same for almost every county. You said, what's it reflect? It reflects, again, seed, machinery, equipment, some machinery and equipment, but no fuel. Fuel's built into this variable cost. Interest is built into the variable cost. It is DAP and urea and potash are built into the variable cost. This number is moving, and we won't know that until the middle of the week. So again, fixed is known, doesn't change between now and April. This one can change. So let's play a game. All right, here's the game. I just buy revenue protection. This is what I buy every year. I buy 85%. All right, my costs are going up, and I know how revenue protection works, and so we'll make the calculation. And your agent can do the same thing. If you buy enterprise units 85%, remember your adjusted APH is going to be $220. That premium will cost you about $28. Government's paying probably 70% of the premium you're in enterprise units and not optional units. So you say, well, show me the money. All right. How would margin protection work? Be glad to do it. You buy the Cadillac. You make a decision by September 30th, and you buy the Cadillac, 95-120. Okay? Again, it's going to be built on top of your individual plan, but I'm going to use 80%. All right? This might be a cheaper way to insure if you really think about it. You don't have to buy 85%, but again, with these higher prices, you're paying more for crop insurance than you've ever paid. All right? In your entire life, you've never paid this much for crop insurance. But you're managing margin, not just revenue. Revenue is yield times price. Margin is yield times price minus costs. What would that Cadillac cost you? Around $89. Above and beyond your revenue protection decision. Again, you're using 80% enterprise units. All right, and there's a quoter. Your agent can go ahead and give you a quote. You say, well, I don't want the Cadillac. I just want to drive the Impala. No problem. Let's say you buy that product, all right, but you buy a 90-100. That's 90% of coverage and 100% of price. All right, you're not buying as much coverage, doesn't cost as much. $52 an acre. Again, when's the premium due? Same time. I'm supposed to say August of 23, but it's actually October 1st without a penalty. Okay? I don't even want to drive an Impala. All right? I want to drive a Cruise. All right? And that's not an EV. All right? I just want to drive a Cruise. All right? No problem. I'm going to buy margin protection. I'm going to buy it at 85% MP and 100% of price. Again, I'm going to add it on to my 80% revenue protection EU. That premium will be $33. See, because I think most of you are trying to figure out, is this a good investment or not? It's more than that. Is this a good risk management tool? I don't know. So let's play a game. All right? Let's pretend that I've got a clue and that I know that the harvest price is going to be lower than the projected price of $6.15 or $6.05. And let's say the harvest price is $5.50. You say, well, why would the price ever go down? I just listened to the Illinois weather guy named Eric Snodgrass a half hour ago, and he said, you know what, we might be heading for El Nino for the 23 crop. 3 years of La Nina. He said that on yesterday's video. So let's pretend that we know what the harvest price is. Again, that's October of 23. Let's pretend we know the MYA cash price, and we only need that for Ark County PLC, which is not a very good safety net. And then let's see if we can project the final yields. So here you go, Buchanan County, and this is for any county, especially in this part of the state. Let's pretend that we know the final farm yields and the county yields, and I'm going to pretend they're the same, because this product, margin protection, really fits if your farms trend with the county. All right, as long as you're above the county when the county has high yields. I think the risk of buying this product is if you have really low yields but the county doesn't, because I'm lots counting on the RP. And then, you know, the likelihood is this is hopefully where you're at. I'm going to call this roughly trend. It might be a little bit higher than that. I'm going to compare those same 4 products. Watch this, okay? Let's pretend that these are the harvest prices and these are the farm and county yields. Would we trigger an indemnity? There's the question. Remember this 85% that I've been buying for 22 years that I'm going to buy. I just don't know if I'm going to buy it at 80 or 85. I don't know if I'm going to use enterprise units or optional units. I don't know if I'm going to add supplementals like hail and wind and green snap. We're not considering that. 85% RP policy, Buchanan County. And these are the final harvest prices. And these are the final farm yields and county yields. The answer is, if we grow large yields, we're not going to trigger an RP loss. You've learned that over the last years, haven't you? I don't collect anything. I don't need to collect anything. I didn't wreck my pickup truck. I don't collect. That's okay. But look what happens when you buy the Cadillac. It triggers. You said, what's it triggering off of? I increased costs slightly. All right, 15% I increased the costs, less than what it did last year. It's triggering off of this price. And it's triggering off the 95. And it's triggering off the 120. So in other words, we're not collecting on revenue protection. We're collecting on margin protection. When would you collect the indemnity? June of the next year, June of 24. You wouldn't know that. You said, well, okay, that's $89 and I get 43 back. Well, I'm not going to that county fair anymore. That's okay. All right. It's not about getting your money back. It's about managing risk. Okay? Well, what if we were slightly below? We just go 200. All right? That's what most of the counties are going to be, 10 or 20 bushel below their trend. And in 23, you're just short of that. Would you trigger a loss? Not revenue protection. But look what happens at the 95-120. You got your money back. Yoo-hoo! I like this rodeo. It's not about getting your money back. Remember, the government paid half your premium, 44% of your premium. Okay? Sorry, guys. Oh, better than I deserve, especially after Saturday. We're comparing just a revenue protection product for Buchanan County with some assumptions. We're comparing it to, what if I added margin protection, but I moved my revenue protection decision to 80%? Okay, that's kind of the interaction. I'm saying that if you buy margin protection, you don't have to buy 85% revenue protection, because you know that those premiums are high because the price is high. But with revenue protection, you're protecting your farm's revenue. With margin protection, you're protecting both revenue, but it's not using your farm's yields. It's using your county's yields, just like SCO and ECO. But there's a cost component built into it. And the cost component is select variable costs. So you said, okay, what if we just had a short a yield and short a price? All right. And we're not going to know that price till October of 23. And we're not going to know this final county yield until June of 24. So again, instantaneous gratification is probably not going to drive this. But look what happens. Margin protection, the shallow loss products, start triggering indemnity loss. If you bought the Cadillac, you're in. If you bought the Impala, you're going to collect something, but you're not getting your premium. And if you bought the Cruise, sorry, you still haven't triggered loss because you're down here at an 85-100. You said, what if we had weather problems? And oh my gosh, this would be a train wreck up in this part of the state. We didn't grow 220, we only grew 190. And the county wasn't 205, 206, it was 190. Then you collect revenue protection. For the last 22 years, you're saying, well, revenue protection, I never collect. Good, good, good. That's because the yield and price was too high in combination. The margin protection is using a different discovery period, same harvest price. All products are using the same harvest price. Okay? This is why I think there's a hard look at this. There's a hard look at how I could add some risk management to the 23 crop. I know these costs are going to be high, probably the highest costs I've ever had, and I hope you've already been buying inputs. I think that is really a part of this key. You said, well, what if we had a disaster up here? And we didn't grow 220. That's our approved APH. We grew 180. And the county yield wasn't 205, 206. It was 180. You trigger revenue protection at 85%. But these products are going to trigger much earlier because they have a component of an earlier projected price this time of year, mid-August to mid-September, and they have a little bit of the cost component. You're comparing cost again to that mid-August to mid-September to the month of April. And again, I said last year at the 22 crop that went up 27%. And for the numbers that I'm running, I'm using maybe a 15% higher cost. And it's really not the cost. It's this combination of this county yield and this harvest price. This county yield and this harvest price are really the keys. So I gave you a real life example. All right, it's pretty close. It was a week ago Friday. All right, where else can I find out about this information other than my crop insurance agent? Well, I didn't take a lot of time off this summer for a retired guy, all right, because I was kind of resting up for the Iowa State football season. I got my tickets for the Baylor game. Could be a good matchup. By the way, they just announced that's an 11 o'clock kickoff on the 24th. So if you go to the Iowa State website, I'm still writing for Iowa State, and you go to Ag Decision Maker, there's a brand new pub. It's called Margin Protection MP Crop Insurance. It's the only one in the land grant system. We're the only ones writing about margin protection. And I create real life examples. It is 5 pages, all right, but it is the essence of how margin protection works. And you say, I don't have time to read this. My crop insurance agent, they better read this. And they better be able to explain this to me. And that's fine. I mean, we kind of wrote this for that purpose. And then in addition, if you say, well, I'd like to know a little bit more about the frequently asked questions, and this is where I've spent most of my time the last 30 days, is we've created a blog site at the Iowa State Extension Ag Decision Maker website. And I add to this about every week. And the idea is that if you've got a question, then you just email me, or your agent emails me, and I try to answer it. All right, what is margin protection crop insurance? I hope in the last 12 minutes you've kind of got a better idea. It's been around 7 years. It was developed at Iowa State by Dermot Hayes and Chad Hart. Chad Hart can't teach on crop insurance because he's got a conflict of interest. So the retired guy gets to teach on crop insurance. So you've got a product nobody else in the world's got, and I think that it would be a type of product that you could add on to revenue protection, okay? Why does MP have a September 30th deadline to purchase the policy? Just to challenge your mind, all right? Because you got nothing else going in September, all right? The idea was if there was a change in cost or to provide a different discovery period for the projected price. See, all your eggs are in one basket, the month of February. All right, that was a good basket. Last year, Russia invaded Ukraine. But the fact is that what if we go into a global recession and the U.S. is faced with stagflation? I've seen that projected in a few places. Will we always have $6 or $7 corn? What's the cure for high prices? High prices. So this is kind of a risk management tool that could protect you from both lower prices, lower county yields, and higher costs. All right, why would you be interested this year? I made it 6 years and I didn't use it. I think the year that you'd buy it is the year that prices were high. All right, you thought costs might go even higher, and that you knew there was uncertainty of projecting county yields. So I'm not saying buy it, I'm saying it's up to you. Work with your crop insurance agent. You've got 2 weeks to make a decision. Can I buy MP with federally reinsured? Yes. You buy MP in addition to RP. All right, you're just going to add it on to your RP policy. You got to buy it from the same AIP, approved insurance provider. So if your agent writes for rain and hail, you can't go, buy revenue protection from NAU. And then lastly, do you get both the MPCI and the margin protection indemnity? No. Yep. Go ahead.
Can you mix and match counties?
No.
If you farm in multiple counties, can you buy margin protection in one county, not the other?
Yes. Yeah, you don't have to. And I'd suggest you buy it in a county that you know that your farm yields in that county are probably trending. I think the risk of buying margin protection is you've just got a crappy farm in a county and it doesn't yield well. Well, margin protection isn't going to pay. You're dependent upon revenue protection. Make revenue protection your primary decision. But you're making an MP decision now. All right, 5 months earlier, almost 6 months.
Crops, or like if you buy margin protection in a county, can you do it just on corn and not on beans?
Yes, oh, definitely. I mean, last year I think more people bought it on corn than anything. Let me give you some current numbers just so you've got it. What's the projected price for corn? I used 605 as the example. As of yesterday, it's 609. We'll know that in 2 days. Okay. What's soybeans? 1353. 1353. So I think there's going to be people look at maybe buying it for both corn and soybeans. We're in a period with extremely high prices, especially for this discovery period, mid-August to mid-September. And then if the wheels come off and prices head lower, that's the harvest price of 23, and that's the county yield that we won't know until June of 24. Good question. Variable cost, have they changed? Corn's almost the same as 270, 239, so it's pretty close. Fixed cost, 206. In all my examples of that publication, I use 500. I'm off by $20 an acre. So we don't know the cost. Then you compare what that discovery cost was for the select variables and compare it to the month of April. All right, so this has nothing to do with your cost. These are futures traded, and then they use the interest rates that aren't actually April, but it's close to that. So if you think interest is going up and costs are going up, you think maybe the county yields could go down, and you think that the price could go down. Good question. Other questions? Other questions that you have of me? Iowa State football, I think the expectations are a little higher than they were a week ago. a little higher than they were a week ago. And good luck finding Baylor tickets and Oklahoma tickets. Questions that you might have of me on margin protection. Margin protection. Again, it's been around 7 years. Okay, the last 2 years, it's got a lot of looks. And we're going to do a podcast this afternoon, so if you hear the podcasts, go ahead.
So, for example, the 22 crop, we don't know the final yields.
No.
Do you think that it pay out, will pay out?
Here's what I understand from the crop insurance agents I work with, okay? It looks like that harvest price is going to come in around $6. You closed December 22 corn. That projected price was $5.06. Because the cost went up 27% for the 22 crop, we know that. It's going to be the counties that have below their expected county yields. Southern Iowa, Western Iowa, ka-ching! If you bought the Cadillac, some agents are saying $150 to $200 an acre, they're probably going to trigger MP Indemnity. They won't get it until June of 23. So it'll be where you probably see, in a year like this where you have higher harvest price, you're probably going to see it where you have really low county yields.
Right now, the trigger for most Iowa counties is basically 105% of the expected county yield.
Yep.
And interest is still calculating in October.
Yep.
It's not adding a whole bunch of bushel requirement, but if you were, just know these numbers off the top of my head, like Crawford and Carroll County all have 220 expected yield. They had to yield like 227, 230 set records not to pay.
Western Iowa, Southern Iowa, pretty close. I mean, we're even saying, you know, I've been working on some Boone County numbers. That'll be my case study that I'll feature this winter. And, you know, where this corn's already died, we've got a lot of corn that's fired. We're probably going to trigger, they might not be large indemnity payments. But again, use revenue protection as your front line of defense. Margin protection is kind of secondary. Good question. Other questions that you might have?
Did the guys that, were there guys that triple dipped in 22 because they bought low RP, high MP, and then the government came in and said, we're going to give you money back up to your 85%?
Well, you can only have the higher of the two, so you really can't
So did
double
they
dip.
double dip it?
Are you talking about 20 and 21?
Yeah,
The recent
maybe
program?
yeah.
Yeah, that didn't have anything to do with 22 margin
Yeah,
protection.
yeah,
Okay.
no.
So
No.
were there guys that double dipped on the 20 then?
I don't think.
I'm not aware of that.
I don't think margin protection really paid anything in 20 and 21.
No.
Unless, well, I take that back. If you were in a wind-torn county.
Yes,
perhaps.
derecho.
But margin protection was minuscule in use prior to this last year.
Yeah, I would agree. Where the people that collected a margin protection in 20 was the derecho counties, where they got the severe wind damage and that low county yield. Okay, don't forget there's a SCO ECO play. What did you just learn about SCO ECO? If you buy margin protection, what'd you learn? You can't buy SCO or ECO on that crop in that county. That crop in that county. And there's the double dip, and they're both using county yields. All right, if you don't buy margin protection, then you can still buy SCO. But if you buy SCO, you've got to enroll in PLC.
But Scott, to answer your question, no, you're not able to double dip from that because margin protection is still a federal insurance policy. And so if the producer received claims from a federal policy, those dollars were considered first before the jackup on the balance of your multi-peril.
Yeah.
So it would have been a double dip, but there could have been something extra on top.
And I don't think I think most everybody that collected in the derecho counties, they collected on RP. I mean,
Well, yeah, but then they received a huge check here 60 days ago.
yeah, that they decided to add on. It does show the importance that FSA can now see your crop insurance yields. You with me? And you don't have to fool with FSA. They can generate these checks just by looking at the RMA yield data on your farms. That's really important. So crop insurance is the primary safety net that you have. It's sure not ARC County and PLC. Those are not programs that I'd ever want to collect on. So less importance of ARC PLC decisions at FSA by March 15th. This is where it's at. It's crop insurance. Good point. Any other questions?
Yeah, on the premium for 23, does it look like it's more than double what 22 was?
We'll let the agents cover that.
$88 for a 207 APH in the Buchanan County for an 80% enterprise and 95/120 is the estimate right now. So I call it $80 to $100 for Buchanan County.
As compared to,
Probably 55 to
Yeah.
60 last year.
So
Yeah.
that's with
30.
the RP in there, or it is?
Yeah, but that's still an estimate though, because you have to track what your implied volatility is going to be
Yeah.
in February, and that can increase your multi-peril insurance to the tune of $10-15
Yeah.
acre in a hurry.
you're really moving all of your risk management from February kind of earlier. I mean, because all your eggs are in the February basket, both the projected price as well as the implied volatility factor.
So we were at $83 an acre this year on our corn with MP and RP. So
This year for your 22 crop?
correct.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say you're probably talking closer to $100 an acre than this year.
Yeah.
At least.
And did you buy a 95 120? Okay, all right. And I'm not against that. Most people that are buying margin protection, in my opinion, are especially that first number. The 95's key. The 95's key. Question in the back.
I make this decision on September 30th, or before September 30th, and between now and next year's planting season, I either add a farm or lose a farm.
Mm-hmm.
Can I carry that to whatever acres I'm farming then the next year?
And
Without-
agents?
Yeah, it goes to all your certified acres for that county.
Yeah, so when you, or if I die and the kids sell the farm to Sloan over there, before the funeral's over, can that insurance carry over to
Yes.
the new landowner?
Yes, it's the estate. It will be a part of the estate.
If it's part of the estate, but if you don't have anything to insure, you don't have anything to insure, right? I'll make a comment on that in a minute. It's not necessarily-
In most cases, when that insured, all right, passes, that estate then still has that insurance coverage in place. So unless your kids are going to sell that thing right away, I think that
Probably
the
before the funeral.
okay, all right. Well, that's another topic that I'm not going to cover. Thanks for your time. Thank you.